Today we're going to talk about performance curves. How do you graphically represent the performance of a diaphragm pump? Well, let's get into it. So it typically involves two separate curves. They have to be done independently because the way a diaphragm pump works is it has an inlet for vacuum and an outlet for pressure. You have to do these curves one at a time. It's typically done with flow on the vertical axis, pressure on the horizontal axis to the right, vacuum on the left. They can be independent curves or they can be done combined like this. The way it's done is with instrumentation that I'm not showing here, but basically what you do is you pick one side, run a tube out with a valve on it, and you have a valve that is used to shut the flow down while you monitor pressure and flow. And that's pretty straightforward. And basically the results look like this. When it's wide open with everything unrestricted, you end up with a data point that's kind of up here. And then what you do is you gradually shut the valve down and you see what happens to pressure. And on the right hand side here, as you might expect, the more you close the valve, the more the flow drops and you end up with a curve that looks something like this. And the specifications for the pump are typically here, where this is your max flow, and down here is your max pressure. So your max pressure is at zero flow and your max flow is at zero pressure. So once you're done with that, what you do is you switch the setup and move to the other side, of the vacuum side, basically repeat the same process, and you monitor vacuum as you shut down the valve. And of course you'd expect it to go something like this. And here is your max vacuum. Another thing that you might see on some of these performance curves is current. So while we monitor pressure and flow, we also monitor current, which leads to power and wattage and important things like this if you're battery operated. That can be represented on a second axis where we show amps. The interesting thing about diaphragm pumps is that typically exhibit an inverted curve like this, where the current starts off low, increases and then decreases. This is where the motor is doing the most work, and this is where the highest current is. And similarly on the vacuum side, it does something like this. And that is your max current. So when you're looking at the specifications of a pump, you'll typically see the max flow, max vacuum, max pressure, and max current. Hope this helps.